Hello, I'm Lee Davis, and welcome to my big, beautiful workstation inside my bedroom. Um, I've just completed the fourth episode of The Eggs of Darkness have hatched, and um, my goal of making this was, ultimately I just wanted to have another DVD to put out, and I'll get into that in a second, and I'll try to keep this to the point. But this time around was a much different experience than when I did my last two micro slash no budget movies, films. Those two experiences where we all got together on over a weekend and made a whole movie happen in a weekend. So it was non-stop. And the first movie we did, Mossy Rock, was really such an experience, and I'll never forget that. It was looking back on it, after just such nice memories of that. And the second one, not so much, just because I was under a lot of stress. I wasn't really getting the help and support where I really needed it from, and so I got real stressed out. And I frankly just feel like it didn't live up to the potential it could have had, and I felt kind of disappointed. I'm still happy with the film. My friends did a great job. I frankly just feel like I fell short where I could have. I could have performed a little stronger, and that kind of leads me into where I came to be. I do these things. I guess you could call it a hobby, but it's just always been a passion of mine since I was a kid. And obviously, life didn't take me in the direction that I really wanted to go. And without trying to get too much into that, I still just want to make it happen. I always just obsessed over it and I plotted and planned on how I could make a film happen. For all those years, and when it finally came together, it was great. And then I really loved doing it so much, I just wanted to revisit it. And all my friends said they want to make a second movie. And as I said, just because I wasn't really, there's just a lot that bugged me. I don't expect a micro budget film to be that just a bunch of friends, make when they get together. I don't expect it to be flawless, obviously, but just something I can feel a little better about where I was when I did it and how well I did. It just kind of left this lingering disappointment, just dissatisfaction. Once again, not so much in the movie itself as a whole, but in so much as just what I brought to it. I felt I wasn't on my game, and as it would happen before we got a chance to make a third one, me and my family, we had to move from Virginia to Pennsylvania, and so while I was making all these adjustments and doing my fathering and family man stuff, I had it in mind. I was just really, I had not zapped that desire to go back and do a film, and I talked to my good friend Josh a lot about it, and was just trying to think of a way to make it happen, or to meet the right people to make it happen, or just what I should do. And to make it was really tedious, just having it there and not knowing how to get it done. But to make a pretty long and drawn out story a little bit shorter, I would make little movies, funny little movies, and because Emily was getting older, where she could perform with me, and she was so talented, I'd put these funny little movies we made up on social media, and as it turns out, we just kind of linked with some of the neighborhood families in the townhouse community we were in at the time, and it was the Sabo family. Who noticed some of my videos, and I started, and it was a real pleasure when they started asking me about them. And as it turns out, CJ Sabo, who doesn't appear in the film but helped out, was a real enthusiast, and he had made a short horror film back in his time during I guess film school. Forgive me, I don't remember precisely what, but he had a film project. He made a short horror film, and it was really cool and impressive. And then of course their children, Celine and Ryan. I'd take Emily out to the playground, and we'd run into them, and they always helped me a lot with Emily. Just nicest kids, but they Celine in particular was asking me a lot about it. She was really interested in film and wanted to act and all this stuff. So basically, that family came over. I said, shoot, I'll talk to your folks about it. And it was really cool how it worked out. So that family was very, very helpful in helping me make this happen. And what I had originally thought is I'd just make installments, just short parts, and the catalyst for it to kick off, I mean, was when the Rickert family, who's very dear to me, let Emily and I go stay in their beach house for a few days. And the last film, it ended off, all the characters go off to the beach to take refuge. And I won't get into the backstory, that just check it out if you're interested. But I said it can pick up where things are falling apart at the beach. So I just took a bunch of, I had Emily with me. So, just real quick, I'd run around and do some takes. And when I got it back, I realized I had more than 7-8 minutes. I had enough that made the typical the typical runtime for a sitcom. And so I said, shoot, I could. It's really not so much to just make these episodic installments, and once I get to 4, I'll release that. I was a little conflicted about whether I should cut it into a solid movie when I was done, and I really, as I say this now, the DVD's not out yet. Obviously, I'm making the bonus feature, but I decided ultimately, I was watching one of my favorite shows, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and I just said that it'd be nice to just keep it as a show, and then you can get these quick installments. I'll celebrate the first 4 installments with a DVD release, and that'll scratch that itch. And that's about the runtime of your average movie. And also on top of that, just whenever ideas accumulate and some things fall into place, and we have the time, we can make another episode happen. I like the idea of celebrating with a DVD and then just kind of getting to ease off and pick it back up without a huge commitment like we did with the movies, where we've got to make enough material to fill out an 80 to 90 minute film. It'll be nice to just release episodes when I get the time. But right now with this done, I'm elated because I feel like I've wrapped up this really big thing that kept on nagging at me, and I wouldn't say obsessing over it, but it was just really bugging me to do this, and having it done is just it's just a wonderful feeling. And I just so thank you to the Sabo family and my daughter, of course, who helped me so much in doing this, and thanks for watching this. So yeah, but before I get going, sorry, I know I've gone on a while, but I just wanted to tell you how this came into place. I guess I should also mention I did have ideas, because I'm fathering practically full time, with the exception of school and camp time. I had entertained ideas about getting out there. They were showing some Argento films over at Frank's Ale House Cinema in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. And I thought it'd be great to get out there and watch some Argento films in the theater. That'd be great enough in itself. But I said take some cards out there, and maybe I start chatting with some people. Maybe I'll meet some heads that want to make film happen. And that just never came to be. I'd keep my eye out for people who were film enthusiasts, but I'm not exactly out stomping all over the cultural venues. I'm taking my daughter to Dorney Park and stuff like that. So that's just what life handed me for this situation, and we still made it work, and I'm happy. I'm quite happy for what it is. And anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and just real quick. I want to talk a little bit about the backstory. For all this, I don't want to tell you the story itself. I want to tell you the installments I've made over the years that encapsulate this mythology, or this canon, or whatever you want to call it. Because there's a lot of references back to the books and comics and all this stuff. So I'm just going to go over a kind of checklist with where it began. The first story I made a story called "The Residents of Mossy Rock" that appeared in a Lovecraftian horror anthology, which also featured Clive Barker, which was like really just really cool. I mean, Clive Barker might care less, but still just to have some work and something with his name in the bold print for the the big author name. And later on down there, and I'd been writing books for years. I think I'd written. Let me not get too sidetracked. That was I'd been published in 2 anthologies prior to that. Those don't count. Those were stupider stories. They're throwaway stories. this one was far from perfect or anything outstanding, but it kind of kickstarted everything. And then I wrote Corrales Coast. I wrote that novel and self published it instead of going through small press. Small press is fine for just kind of kicking off and getting your feet wet, I think. Corrales Coast dealt with the beach, where my character starts off at. There's a lot of elements from the book that are even in that actual area, because it was so inspired by that part of the world. I did one book called Melissa is Home, which frankly I thought I just shouldn't have done it when I was finished. It was kind of connected to the mythology, but I just thought it's one you can skip over. I don't think it was too terrible, but I think it was just a lot of elements that I wanted in a story that I ended up using in other books, and it just seemed like I don't know. It just maybe wasted resources. I don't know. And didn't I do a third book? Yeah, I did. Oh my gosh, no, I screwed up. Wow, I don't know my own books. Corrales Coast came after Melissa's Home. What am I saying? At the Heart of Atrocity was the first novel I self-published. I can't even remember my own books. At the Heart of Atrocity, that starts off in Mossy Rock. Okay, which of course has ties to the films. How did I get that messed up? Don't ask. Yeah. So At the Heart of Atrocity was connected to Corrales Coast. They all have these, and when the movies came along, they all have these common elements, the common towns, Mossy Rock, and Corrales Coast, the beach my characters spending time at. And let's see. To kind of coincide with the Mossy Rock movies, I did Mossy Rock Reunion, which reconnected with characters from At the Heart of Atrocity. And there's actually going to be 2 more novellas. That's like a trilogy novella thing I started off, and that's one thing I'm compelled to finish eventually. I was real into it, and then you kind of forget how much work a novella really is. It's not something you just pick up and whiz through. A novella is still a lot of work, especially just tying all these ends together. Let's see. Oh, what am I? Okay, and then there's the Door to Death comic book. I did 5 issues of that. That devoured about a year of my free time. That was really an obsessive thing. That was a lot of nights with little sleep. Check the time. Oh, we're doing good. And I compiled that all into a paperback, all those 5 issues, and also featured the single Charlotte comic I did. That no one ever wanted any more of that one. Not like so many people wanted Door to Death, but anyway. And those were, I think, kind of connected. What am I forgetting? I'm sure there's some other stuff in there. There's also, I did the book, also a novella, Broken Vein, and that's actually where I had the idea of the big black jellyfish creature. And then that came into, that kind of intertwined with, tied into the 6. I did a 6th issue of Door to Death. I actually got 7. I just pick issue 7. I'm picking up from time to time. I'll do a page here, a page there. That's kind of like where the show is. It's just something, now that I've kind of gotten the big portion done, the big offering is something I can just kind of pick up and do in small doses, so it's not devouring a lot of my time, so I can get a little more fresh air. I guess besides that, there's also the Cranberry Death Sauce comic. Is of course kind of more of a slapstick comedy, but that's tied in. That has actually the Lunchtime Larry character is featured a lot in that, as well as the Gross comic, which originally debuted in Strange Youngs magazine, or Planet Lovecraft at the time. Sorry. Gross is not so much tied in. It's a little more slapstick too, but it deals with the same concepts, the same monster world and everything. And I guess finally, I think I covered it all. I'll just run some other titles over my head, superimpose the covers if there's anything I forgot. If not, then oh well. I guess just real quick. Well, I covered I've covered the books and stuff here, but once again, I'll mention I did a bunch of books prior to that, and I even did one graphic novel, and just none of them were good enough to ever push. They weren't good stuff. But they were called the Cherry Orchard comic book, and I just did a bunch of novels before that. They're just garbage. And one of these days, I might give them a kind of overhaul and edit them into something somewhat presentable and give them a Kindle release just so they're out there. I mean, I don't know, maybe they're worth that much. I guess finally I'll just talk about where all this came from. I'd say just growing up with ideas of where did dreams come from, and later on in life I heard William Peter Blatty talking about the subconscious and what a deep infinite well of ideas it is, and the interviewer said because it's attached to the divine, and Blatty said yes, of course, or something to that effect. And that really clicked with a lot of my own concepts. I say, what if this, we say we're connected to to get a little new age here, connected to an energy world. Let's say the subconscious is what's attaching us to this this other imperceivable world, something that we can't see but we all kind of feel at times. And I think about growing up, I always thought about dreams. I said, how much of this is manifested in my own mind, and then how much of it is actually connected, tapped into something greater than myself or outside of myself. I deal with these concepts, and that's how naturally later in life I gravitated a lot toward the work of H.P. Lovecraft and Junji Ito later than that, where it entertained what ifs about what if this other world wanted to communicate with humans. And of course naturally, if our heads were like radios and something wanted to transmit information or get us to help them open a barrier, break down a barrier or something, you can imagine a lot of good things on the other side, but you can also imagine a lot of dark evil stuff that you obviously don't want to tangle with, and it just makes for some real fun writing, and so I've always gravitated toward work that explores those ideas. I'm a huge Silent Hill fan, and the guys who did the Forbidden Siren games, which are pretty unknown in the West, but awesome. Yeah, I thought I'd touch on. Oh, and I thought I'd mention the Orange Man real quick. Who doesn't appear in this, but he appears in the comic. Like, that's just one example of where I had something that felt like a dream visitation, where this figure who's a very odd figure to come up with out of your imagination, but what it really is, it was from a dream that was very vivid, and of this being just kind of staring me down. And I woke up and was just thinking to myself, what was that all about? And I can't prove to myself. I've had some experiences where I say, okay, that was definitely something speaking to me from outside myself, because I wouldn't have come out. I wouldn't have. That's just beyond, and it gave me kind of help, gave me a boost that I was asking for, through prayer or just communication, however you want to put it. This was just some experience that was very uncanny and different, and I can't say, oh, that was definitely not from my imagination. I can't say that. I can say it was so vivid and so strange. I mean, it really, it would make sense to me if I were to think that was just my mind tapping into something outside of myself, and maybe I saw this other being, maybe just kind of bumped into him, and Lord knows what was even going through it's mine. But it was more inspiration. A lot of people say they don't get inspiration from dreams. I definitely do. I thought, what a great idea. What if this character was some kind of dimensional tripper who just kind of went around? Let's say he's benign. I mean, I don't know, but like let's just assume he is, and then he just kind of guides spirits in need. Maybe people who have just passed on to the spirit realm, he'll just kind of give them a helping hand, which he's about to in the next Mossy Rock reunion, because one of our characters has died. But I decided we still get to keep him around because we're going to explore the spirit world and how it interacts with the destinies on Earth. I thought that was a cool character to have, and I think while I'm here, I'll just tell you real quick about Lunchtime Larry. Lunchtime Larry was, I just had this idea, if there was a children's program that had this spazzed out, cracked out looking puppet who lost his mind. You know, couldn't go through a show without spazzing out and starting to scream bloody murder, as you know, as if in severe pain, and just losing it. If he could never get through an episode without doing that, I thought that was a funny idea. And excuse me, I didn't get around to making those videos before we were doing Mossy Rock, and I said, hey, I'll just put them into Mossy Rock, and I thought it was an interesting idea to have that a puppet avatar of an evil force, you know, who's communicating, you know, the idea of this thing that's influencing the humans. You know, it's a dark force influencing humans, and he's going through TV, which I guess is pretty, I guess kind of syncs up with a lot of my ideas of how modern television is. That's it. Are you ready for a tour of the Lee Davis Special Effects Studio? Okay, sure, why not? Here we go. Okay, so let's get started. This is some high-tech stuff going on. I might not even edit this. I might just make this like a straight video. There's my green screen. I've clipped it up because obviously my cat Oreo is going to want to slash it up probably if I leave it hanging down within his claw's reach. There's a dumbbell. Oh, Emily's toys. This is actually not the studio, but I mean it is. It's kind of it's kind of cool when you do homemade movies. Some of Emily's artwork. Okay, here we go. This is where the magic happens. That's the monster world. Of course, a lot of the smaller effects I placed in front of the green screen. For one effect, like when the egg breaks open, I used an idea from Dario Argento where they put coffee grounds and stirred them around in water. It didn't work as good as the flies in Phenomena. My movies, CDs. Oh, anyway. Oh, there's Forbidden Siren 2. Texas Chainsaw Massacre stuff. I really like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Junji Ito. I'm getting into all my geek stuff. This is more stuff. A lot of this stuff in here is just stuff I'd share as a. Oh, hey, but since we're here, if you are an Argento file as I am, this by Alan Jones is a amazing book. Just thought I'd let you know since we're back. Hey, look, there's a Junji Ito. Cool stuff given to me. This about a long time ago. And yeah, this nice microphone. Thank you, Aaron Rickert. Really, you know, great his contribution to the project. Since I asked him for music, but he gave me an incredible microphone anyway. Lighting by Laura Rickert. Yes, thank you very much. And the green screen actually came from Laura's sister, who I think her name is Kara. I've met her once like 10 years ago, so sorry. I think it's Kara, or if not, then to you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Let's see. Oh, there's a video. The video just went to, I was talking about, it's a video where I'm talking about Cannibal Corpse. My back was pulled out and I was, anyway, that's what that is. YouTube just put that up next. So anyway, sorry for my rambling. I wanted to cover everything, and this is in the absence. What I didn't cover is like back when I was making the film over a period of about 6 months is about how long it took. Which is much different than doing it in a weekend, and it's mostly me just setting up the camera, you know, and it's just entertaining. Anecdotal stuff doesn't happen too much, but you know, the best I have is like sometimes the kids were doing their parts and they'd all break out into dance in between takes. I mean, besides that, there wasn't all the crazy stuff. It's just me flying solo, or just trying to get, you know, talking to my daughter, trying to tell her how to perform a part, you know, and it's not all that funny. So this is what you get on this particular bonus feature. Anyway, hey, thanks a lot for tuning in. God bless y'all. My idea is to keep releasing episodes that'll go up on, I guess, probably Amazon Instant Video, and probably YouTube if you want to be cheap about it, but or at least temporarily. I don't know. They'll be out there. Check them out, and maybe, you know, once every 4 episodes, if people really want to hold the DVD, maybe I'll release a DVD. But for right now, I'm really happy this is done. So, all right. I love you all. Take care. Yeah. Bye.